Yo, what's going on? How's everybody doing? My friends, welcome. It is a pleasure. Who do we have in here? Jason, what's up? Mr. Goldberg, how you doing? Jad, my man, hello. Jay Crockett in the house. Janelle, what's up, baby? I'm John. Jamoose. What's up? Oh, man, good to see everybody. Mr. Phelps, how you doing? Cesar, my friend, hello. The memory foam god, what's up? YL, hello. Awesome. Guys, man, let's get crack-a-lacking, man. First of all, before we get started, anybody been making any money into cryptos lately? That's been nuts. I mean, it has been crazy. I've seen a lot of things in my trading career, but holy crap, the last couple weeks has been, more than anything I've ever seen. Good. What have you guys been making money on? Let me know. IOTA. Come on, give me the hot ones that you guys been making money on lately. ADA, okay, Substratum. BTG. Good. Oh, man. BCH has been amazing. It's been a great trader. I'm still sick to my stomach on BCH to this day. I've had this thing a few different times. I had it at this breakout at 600, at 1400. I mean, it's been really something. ETH, good. I mean, really, the amazing part about the crypto market right now is that you could have really thrown a dart on any bullshit cryptocurrency and it would have went up. It's not always going to be like that. Trading is a lot harder. Trading's just a lot harder than what the cryptos have made it look like recently. So at some point we'll slow down. It'll probably be pretty soon. But in the meantime, you just got to milk the gains while you can. And then there'll probably be a little bit of a resting phase. And then we'll be kind of, maybe we'll be off to the races again. But it's been a really, really incredible. Let's just quickly take a look at what's been happening the last couple days, where we see the markets, and then we'll talk a little bit about these last couple trades and get this thing really, really going. So let's first take a look at Bitcoin. As you can see with Bitcoin, it's been a pretty fantastic run. Really, even every time we've done one of these darn webinars, it's just gone, really, really shredding. Even though we have had considerable weakness the last few days, we're still up. We're still above its 20 SMA. And so, as long as you're still in a trending phase, there should be a pullback in Bitcoin, but it's not really the end of the world on it. If you could see, if anything, it's a fairly orderly pullback. Right now, it just looks like there is a rotation in money that's coming out from Bitcoin into other names like Bitcoin Cash and stuff like that. And so, that's going to be an interesting thing to keep an eye on. But that's just the way it goes. I'm not sure why I'm so shaky. That's just the way I go, baby. So as long as we're hanging out above these major moving averages, we're good. Moving averages do two things. They help you identify trends on some particular time frames, and they can act as areas of support and resistance. And so you're seeing kind of both of those going on right now, is that you're still in that trending environment. But look, to be honest, if Bitcoin came back a little bit, 14,000, 10,000, that would be really the healthiest thing for the market, but also allow people to get into some other cryptos. One of the things to remember with Bitcoins, it's kind of like a verb, right? At this point, it's like your Google. When people say Google that, it just means look it up. And right, Bitcoin is the same way. It kind of represents, it represents the overall cryptocurrency market, but people are starting to find out there's a lot of other shredders running out in the market. So I still like Bitcoin. I just will not buy it at these levels I would need a real pullback, to get into these. Let's take a look at Ethereum. So Ethereum's been really the best trader at the group. So since we've been doing YouTube lives, we've been watching this trend line break over 360 for months and months and months. And, one of the things, remember, with patterns is the longer the pattern, so you see how the pattern went for 4 or 5 months, the longer the breakout. And so the more powerful the breakout is. Short patterns give you short moves. You get a 5-day pattern, you're going to get a 5-day move. Oh, you can't even see my charts. I forgot about that. But one of the things to always think about is the longer the pattern, the longer the move. So let's go back. I'm sorry, I forgot that you couldn't see the chart. So let's take a look, right? So this is your Bitcoin. So after this big kind of breakout at 8,000, then we got one at 10,000. We ran to 20, and now we've had this easy-go-lucky kind of pullback. We've touched down about 14 where there's some significant support. You can see right here there's some support levels forming at 14. If it doesn't hold there, you'll probably see a pullback to 10 or 11. Even if you get that type of pullback, you have to think about the move in Bitcoin in context of what it's done, right? When you have such a big run, you're going to have volatility in those type of big pullbacks. As long as, you're kind of holding these different levels, I think Bitcoin's solid. If you were looking to pick some up, I would look at 2 different spots, either 14,000, or if it doesn't hold there, I'd be thinking more of 11,000. Frankly, we need a little bit of pullback in the markets. Okay, so that's just the nature of the game. You've gone on such a run, you've got to come back. The beauty of it is that this is a daily chart on Bitcoin, by the way, using TradingView. The beauty of markets is while this pullback is happening in Bitcoin, you're starting to see some exponential moves in other names. And so this will give a chance to have some other moves. And so you've seen in Ethereum, we had that big breakout at 360. Now we've run to 480 and busted over 520. Now we're 500, and it's been hanging out here. So even this one's a little bit too long in the tooth for me to add anymore. We added this thing at 370 and 500. We've had so many trades in it of recent, but I think this one is also a little bit long in the tooth and short in the cock. We've got to get something even hotter. So you're seeing a little bit of pullbacks in the markets today, and that's okay. The reason for the pullbacks is that GDAX. So for those of you guys that trade at GDAX has added Bitcoin Cash into its trading. And so GDAX has only been primarily 3 coins, right? You've had ETH, BTC, LTC, and now there is BCH, at GDAX. And so that's going to be, I wonder if the ticker is BCC or they haven't added the TradingView yet, but it's going to be BCH. And so that's going to be just a monster. And so I use BCC anyways as the proxy, but BTC, Ninja, BTC. So those are the major 3 coins now. And you saw that pullback in some of these because the money's flowing into Bitcoin Cash. So Bitcoin Cash, now that it's been picked up by GDAX, is just off to the races. And frankly, this is going to be a much funner trader than Bitcoin itself. Bitcoin Cash has some advantages, but what you're going to see is a lot of money flowing into this. Now, this one too, guys, if you're looking for an investment, this has gone way too far, right? In the last 3 days, it's up well into over 200%. And so, we don't want to really be trying to get this thing as it's come up. Think about how many years and how many months Bitcoin took to get to 4,000, right? It took years and years, and this thing's gone from $300 in October to 4,000. That's a little bit of an aggressive move. So right now I'm taking day trades in this, but I'm not looking to add this thing till it really pulls back. But there are some other ones that I really like right now that we've been playing and hunting for that we're going to go over. So one of them that I like for this coming week is this Bitcoin Gold. So anything with the word Bitcoin in it right now is just going. But what you can see here with Bitcoin Gold, this is a kind of like a Bitcoin Cash. It's an offshoot of Bitcoin from one of the forks. You can see here it's busted out of its kind of all-time highs here, which is around that 415 level. So it's hanging out just under this thing. I think if this thing could break and hold over 400, you could see potentially this one, in the coming weeks or months, make that way to 1,000. Its intraday chart, so this is your 15-minute chart. Its intraday chart looks sweet. So after that big push, it's been in a resting phase for the last, 12 hours or so. And really, as long as it hangs out above this low right here, which is 365, it's going to be considered really, really bullish. And if it comes out of that range, of this range, I mean, it's off to the races. So what I'm doing is monitoring this right now. And if it breaks this kind of level right there at 418, and maybe it'll even do it while we're live, it's going to be sick. And so what we want to do is hunt for this one. If it breaks 420, I'm going to be in this thing, and I'll be hitting it with some size. You can only trade this one right now at a handful of places. Where I personally would be trading this would be at Bittrex, bittrex.com. I've been messing around with Binance the last couple of days too, which has got a really nice platform. I don't know if they have BPG. They do, but they have it in ETH pair. I prefer doing them in USDT pairs if I can. It just makes more sense to me. So I keep an eye out on this. So even this one, how I usually do it if I'm really busy, if I've got stuff to do, if I've got work, you can add an alert on the trend line. And I usually have these things texted to me as I don't check my emails that often. Hit create. And now you've got yourself, a nice little play here, potentially for an afternoon popper. So I'd keep an eye on this one. I think this one's going to have some potential on it, and it could be a go. Some other ones, obviously this Dash has gone nuts. You can't really buy this thing up at 1,400. Let me get this back to a solo chart. You can't really buy this one at 1,400. This Neo has been a fantastic move. Once we got over 44, we doubled in a handful of days. I'm using TradingView for my charts. So this one's going to need to flag out. So if you like Neo, and I do like this one, as long as it hangs out above 55, I like Neo. What we need to do is, we've had 3 days of consolidation right here. What we need to do is kind of let that 9 EMA curl up on it and just base out for about 3-4 more days. And I think this one could have the juice on it still. XMR, this one too, from my original buys. I sold this thing way after a couple days. I really fucked this one. This was the trade I goofed up more than any. This one looks really long in the tooth also. But there's a couple other ones that I've been watching that I really like. So with the mania that's happened in Bitcoin Cash, with the mania that's been happening in Bitcoin Cash, probably the next one that will get rumored to be picked up by GDAX will be this ETC. This is, your Ether Classic. So I really keep an eye on this. If you start to see rumors that, GDAX is going to pick this one up next, I think that this one is probably going to be, it's probably going to get really, really going. And it's just supply and demand dynamics. So how everything works, how everything works on Coinbase and GDAX. So the new traders, right? So if say you're new to the crypto world, the first place you open an account is Coinbase, right? And then you use your GDAX as your platform. So if you're at Coinbase and you see Bitcoin at 16,000 and Bitcoin Cash at 4,500 or whatever it's at right now, and then you see Ethereum at 800 and something, and you see Litecoin in the 300s, and if they pick up ETC and it's at 40, what do you think the average person's going to buy? They don't think about anything, right? The average person they just buy. So what they're going to do is they're going to load up into Ethereum because it's going to, and ETC, because it's going to be the cheapest one. That's the reason that, right, people like Ripple and stuff like that, right? Ripple is like a huge dick to trade, but people like it because it's cheap, you know. But in the end, I wouldn't worry too much about it. There's potential in that ETC. I definitely keep an eye on it. One of the things to do is really, really keep an eye. If it starts to flag, that's where you want to see this thing. So if you're looking at Ethereum Classic, it's been up a lot of days in a row right now. So like, I'm not looking to really add this thing up this high. But if you start to see a couple things, it either comes back, it kind of taps back to this 32 area. That could be a potential buy. Or if it starts to go sideways for a period of time, that's going to be, you know, another signal that this thing is holding. And then we'll see this thing kind of run into the new year. But the one that I'm stalking right now that I think has really the most potential is this IOTA. Now, I've been trading IOTA on Binance, but this is probably, out of all the charts, the cleanest chart. So on IOTA, and you can buy this with the ETH pair on Binance, out of all the ones, IOTA's had really some incredible momentum. It broke over 1, flagged over 150, ran to 5. But now we've kind of had like this 1 month consolidation. And yesterday we shredded this thing. I added this thing on the break here, a few thousand shares. It ran up to 6 and then just kind of collapsed later in the day. But as long as it hangs out above this trend line, guys, and if it can go sideways for even a couple days, this one's going to have a lot of potential. The issue with this one was, though, even though it broke the trend line here, up here is only your second test of resistance, right? And so in trading, guys, 2 tests of resistance don't hold, right? 2 tests are for losers. So when you're thinking about trading and you're thinking about resistance levels, if you come in and hit the old high, but it's only the second test, that's not going to be enough juice to really, really break out. And so we ended up taking our profits in this into the spike. And now I'll look to reload. So if this thing can go sideways for a handful of days and build up a little bit of momentum, right, a little bit of steam, and allow your 9 EMA to start creeping up, that's where I think this is going to give us that third test. And this happens just a lot, is that, you know, sometimes you need a little bit of there you go, her. Sometimes you just need a little bit of marination to, you know, allow for energy to build. So when you think about cryptos and stuff like that, right, it takes, you know, it takes power, it takes consolidations and bases to really, really get going. So I think this IOTA is going to have some potential. You're just going to have to give it a day or two, but watch out. If it takes out this old high of kind of $5.80, $6, I think that you're going to have a monster run in this. Where I look to trade IOTA, how I look to trade is I use the pair. So I've been using the ETH pair on Binance. So you can see on the chart on this, you know, it ran up to about 0.012 and it came back to 0.005. So about a 50% retracement. And the reason it came back twice as hard was because Ethereum was flying. But now you got this rounding bottom, and rounding bottoms are really, really powerful. If you can kind of break out over here and remount these MAs, I'd say about that 0.7 area, I think you're going to have some real potential to get this thing back up to about 0.12, 0.11, which from 7, I mean, that's a 50% gain. That's what we're in for, right? In stocks, you know, we'll look around and try to shred, you know, a couple percent here or there. In cryptos, we need those 20, 30, 40% moves. It's just different because there's no leverage. And so you need more juice when you're looking to play these things. So that's kind of my favorite one for coming into the week. But let's take a look at a few of these altcoins and we'll show you some other ones I really like. So this quantum has already just exploded, but there's a couple of them that are actually just creeping along here that I think have some potential. So this ADX is one that's got we call this my student, Taylor. He's the crypto shredder. If he's in here, he calls this the MPF pattern. That's the mega penis pattern. And what that means is that when you get this big wide range and the range starts to get tighter and tighter and tighter, and you finally start to break out, you know, usually what you'll start to do is start to attack these old highs. And so I think that this one is going to have some potential. This is another one that you're going to have to do the pairs in. Trig is another one that's got a really nice look to it. So you've come out of here. See this? 1 tap, 2 tap, 3 taps. You broke your third level of resistance, and now you're sitting there on the trend line. If it can hold this trend line and stay above its 9 EMA, I think this one's going to have really the potential to get up to about 280 or so in the next few weeks. This type of pattern, guys, is the pattern that, you know, Dash had and so many of the other ones had when they started to explode. So when you think about Dash, it's that same pattern. It was just a few months ago, right? Where you had that really wide range, and then you started to really consolidate. See how you tested this resistance level so many times that when you finally busted loose, you know, you ended up with a really, really momentous run. And so I love that type of pattern in cryptos. It works really, really well. By the way, I know some of you guys are new. And if you're new and this is way over your head, feel free to email me at canal at KUNAL@BULLSON.WS. I could send you some beginner material, or, you know, make a kind of compilation of some videos and stuff to get you started, because this might be a little bit different for some of you guys who are just brand new. Dun, 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 dun. There did it go? And then this MCL is another one that I think is going to take a little bit of time, but you can see your old high was at about 30 bucks. And so we've started to creep up here and consolidate right over here. And we can start to just tighten up this range a little bit. I think this one's going to have some huge juice. So there's some good plays out there. But this is the thing to remember with the crypto market, is that just as fast as they come up, you know, they can come right back down. And so we've got to always be mindful that, you know, we've got to always be mindful of those pullbacks. You'll see in Ethereum too. So this is Ethereum in the spring. You know, when we ran to 400, we came all the way back to 120, and you know, that's a 70%, 60-70% correction. Then we got up to 400 again, and we came all the way back to 200. But it's a 50% correction. Yeah, so do not be surprised if at some point you do get that. This is just a volatile market where you do correct. And so you want to always make sure a couple things and manage your risk, and make sure that you're always, you know, using stop losses and stuff like that, because these things can really, really come down. You can see even in this XMR, even though it's ran from 75 to 450, you know, in September, you know, this thing went from $40 to 150, and it came back down to 60 in a few days. So if you had, you know, if you had even 100 shares of this, and you were unfortunate enough to buy up here, you know, at some point you could be down almost $10,000, guys. And that's a really, really aggressive thing. So when the market gets extended, you know, you really, really want to make sure that you're being a little bit more risk averse and trying to stay away from names that are up way too much, because they could come right back down. And you can still day trade these up to the upside. You just want to make sure you use stop losses and really all that fun stuff. But let's take a look at Litecoin. So this was actually one of our chat rooms' biggest plays. You know, it was really one of the bigger plays in our crypto chat room. So, you know, in the crypto chat room, you know, we're in here trading all day. But we started long in this Litecoin. We've been trading it pretty aggressively the day that it broke out. So it was actually pretty interesting. So Litecoin had been stuck in this range for months and months and months. And it was nearly impossible to trade here. All of a sudden, you started to see a trend, and it ran into 100, which ended up just being kind of its second test of resistance. So you can see it broke over 100 and came all the way back down that day. It just didn't have the juice for it. But what ended up happening is the third test, it took off, and it started to consolidate right in that 100 range. And so how you want to think of trading, guys, is, you know, in stocks and also in cryptos, things trade in boxes, right? Meaning that, you know, you build ranges. And those ranges end up being a box. And so when you break, the top of the box, essentially that becomes the new support. And so once this thing started to really kind of hang out in this 100 range, we knew that it was going to start to get going, because that $100 mark is just a key breakout. So, what we ended up doing is just a really, really simple pattern that I've used in the stock market for just years and years and years. And it's been one of the more powerful patterns that, I've used over the years. But if you go back to, the days that it started busting loose. So guys, how you want to day traders align on multiple time frames, meaning that if I have an idea on the big picture, right? So like I have this flag forming here, this box. If I have an idea on the big picture of something that's going to break, what I want to do is once that starts to break, so that would be like your 106 level, what I want to do is look on a smaller term time frame for a potential add, right? And so I want to do my 15-minute charts on the right side, and that's how I'm going to start to time my day trade. So, man, I remember this like it was yesterday. So it's Friday, and this thing starts to bust loose, and it gets all the way to 140. Now, for me, I get a little emotional. So I missed this whole run. I missed this whole run. I woke up a little bit late and then I missed it. But one of the things to remember with cryptocurrencies, guys, is that even if you miss a run, it does not mean the play is over. So what happens with a lot of times when you see a breakout on the daily and you're watching intradays, it'll just take off without you. But the key of this is to make sure that you don't get any FOMO, right? FOMO is the fear of missing out. What you have to remember is that there's always a secondary play that can be had, and the secondary play is often more powerful and easier to trade than the first play. So as this thing popped up here, I'm only thinking about the money I could have made. I'm like, fuck, man, I would have made $10,000 today. I'm fucking pissed. Sorry for the swearing. But I was fucking pissed. So you can see what happens. It started to run around 6 a.m. And of course, I'm like just fiddling in my bed, playing on my phone, Instagramming. And then this thing starts to run. When it started to run at 9, the stock market opened. So I just wasn't focused on it because I was trading stocks. And this thing started to shred. And at that point, as it got into the 130s, 140s, I'm a little bit perturbed with myself for, missing out, right? But I have to always, it's taken me a decade of professional trader remembers that there's always a secondary play. There's always a secondary play, and it's sometimes easier. So as this thing came up, I just got to wait. I've got to wait for my next pattern, right? My next pattern to develop. And so that's really, really important. So even though I'm kicking myself, and so I have like notes. So guys, I'm a human, right? So I'm pissed because one of the reasons I'm pissed is that this thing is cheaper. It's so cheap, right? It's 100. Everything else is at 1,000. So I know like I'd buy 300, 400 shares of this. And I'm only thinking like, man, $40. If I had 300 shares, I'd make 12,000. And I'd be like, holy crap. But I've got to remind myself all the time. And so like I always leave myself sticky notes like everywhere, all over my desk. I have like sticky notes that I change up every day, of like different things to remember, right? And so I got sticky notes just everywhere to remind myself, don't get the FOMO that, you will get a secondary play. And so I'm like, okay, don't chase it, don't chase it, don't chase it. So this thing comes crashing back right down to the 120s. Now, a lot of people, if they see it go from 144 to 122, they want to buy it. The thing is, you can't buy it. Why? Because you don't have any context in terms of setup. What I mean by setup is trading is all based on patterns, right? Trading is based on patterns, meaning just because something pulls back, without the structure of an overall pattern or trade, you can't really just buy it because you won't have any way to manage your risk. And so I've just got to wait. So as this thing starts to really form, now I'm starting to get excited. So it pops up, and that's good because that's going to give me my second test. And then, because remember, we always want 3 tests for the breakout. Then it starts to come back. right? And so now you start to see it pull back and see how it starts to round right here. So now you start to see something emerge here. So check this out. So now we've got ourselves a quintessential breakout, right? So when you think about breakouts, it's just a matter of, right, waiting for that right movement. Remember that tight ranges and consolidations give power. And I need to see at least 3 tests of resistance, right? So I got 1 test, 2 tests, 3 tests of resistance. The key is these are the intraday EMAs that I use. So the key is when you're looking at these type of tight patterns to look at your 9 EMA, right? So that's your blue line. So when you get your 9 EMA really curling up under that breakout, that's when you want to see it just go away. That's when you want to hit this thing with size, because now what I can do is I can add this thing at 133 and my stop loss will go under the 9 EMA. So I'm only going to risk $2. See, if I bought it up here or here, here, my risk would be, it'd be hard to manage. What I want to do is try to make $10, $20, $30, $40 by risking $2 to $5, right? That's a proper reward to risk, so that you're taking the gambling aspect out of trading and making it trader. See, when I was new, it was always gambling. Like I had an idea, but I didn't have any structure, and then I would lose. So I want to see that pattern start to form. So as this thing starts to break, now I'm adding it with a stop that goes under, and now it's really, really time to shred. And so as this thing starts to bust loose, you know, I always like to sell some into spikes. That's just as a trader, that's my thing, because I know I'm going to get a chance to re-add it. So as this thing starts to go, right, we're already scaling out of some of our position, because we know that once the momentum sets, we can start to keep adding and start to really trade along this. You can see what ends up happening is, right, this thing flags out again. So after a flat top breakout, so this is called a flat top breakout, where you get 3 tests. That's a flat top breakout. So write this down. You'll always have to remember this for the rest of your trading career. After any flat top breakout, if it follows through and it has expanding volume, so see how the volume expanded here compared to the previous candles? That gives it confirmation. So volume is a confirming indicator. Volume is not a reason that we buy anything, guys. You never buy because of volume. What volume does, it helps you confirm price validity. It helps you confirm price action. So as this thing starts to bust loose, I can see the volume expanding compared to all its previous bars. And so that gets me, that's a crypto boner right there, right? And so now I know that these kind of short-term consolidations, as long as my 9 EMA is cruising up under it, I can restart to reload. So me and my buddy Tim are at the damn Pistons game. We went to the Pistons Warriors game this day, and we're in the Legends Club, and we're just getting ham-boned on cheap beer and wine. So, dude, we pay $1,000 for these fucking tickets, and they say it's unlimited booze. We get there, and it's like they got this boxed wine and like Miller Lights for us, and so we're like, well, and we paid $1,000, and they're giving us this boxed wine. We're gonna drink $1,000 worth of boxed wine. And so as this thing starts to consolidate, you know, I'm on my phone, and so you can just log on to Bittrex from your phone. Don't do it on public Wi-Fi, guys, ever. You know, make sure you use your phone's internet. It'll be slow as hell, but it's just so safer. So then you start to reload it up here. Stop just under 9. Now, when you reload some shares, you want to bring the stop loss even from these shares and your new shares to under the 9 EMA. That way, you're consolidating your risk profile, and then it was just off to the races. So this was happening into the night. So this is like 9 o'clock into midnight, and this thing runs to 200, and it's literally just sell some, sell some, sell some. And I always keep a third for lotto, you know. I always keep a third for lotto. And of course, this thing came crashing back down to 150, but that's okay. I keep a third for lotto. And then I just wait for another setup. So into the morning, so this is 3 a.m., and you start to see like it starts to come down, and you're like, okay, well, what's going on? Like, fuck, man, this thing was just at $200. But what you'll start to see is it starts to consolidate. It's just consolidating and pulling back because it got way too extended it went from 100 to 3. So that's okay. Like, we just bide our time and let this play out. And so what you'll start to see is now it's starting to build a little support, right? And it's starting to build a little bit of resistance. And this is where we start to see our pattern start to form. So now once it starts to hold, I'm just hunting, right? So I've got my 1/3, and now I'm just hunting for, additional entries. And so all of a sudden, as the momentum starts to pick back up, right, I'm just looking for areas where my consolidation and my risk is really, really tight. And I want to see always 3 tests of resistance or more. And then we can start trading these things back to the upside. So I start reloading back into this thing, and then we get our yo mama pattern, right? Your yo mama pattern's your flat top breakout, right? So after you get another push, you start to get your flat top breakout over here, and now it's, off to the races and really, really starting to shred. And, we ended up taking all these little flags and just kind of building our way up. And so it ended up, and I missed this whole part of it. A lot of this stuff happened in the morning. So the one I was sick with, so I was already out of this into this push. And the one that I'm really sick with was this one at 6. So I set my alarm, and, I'm up and about, and it always seems to happen at 6 a.m., guys. Remember this. A lot of these moves, it's like 6 a.m., and around that time, like, you just see the shred coming on, like in terms of the heat. And so, I'm up and I'm playing on my phone, like, man, this thing is consolidating. I better go take a crap. And I literally left to just go and, do what I do, what men do in the mornings. I'm like goofing around my phone, checking out sports scores. And I come back, and this is 15-minute charts, right? I come back, and this thing is $50 right off, where I needed to buy this thing. And it was off to the races. I ended up missing this whole part of it, but it ended up being still a really good trade. One of the things to really remember, and so I take stats. So, when I look at my trades, let me find one of my journals for you here. Hold on. So when I look at my trades, and, so I like kind of log everything, right? And one of the things that you'll see, like, when I look at my trades and like different stuff is, when you see, let me grab my screen share here. I don't know why it popped up. One of the things that you'll see, like, when you log your trades and, do all your fun stuff, when I ask myself, like, when I do my trade journals and stuff, one of the things that I always ask myself, so I always put like my P&L for stocks. Cryptos doesn't show P&L, but, you got to take pictures of the charts and stuff. But one of the things I always notice when I'm doing my journals and I'm writing down, so I always write down the name of the setup. I write down what the market's doing. Did I add it to my winners and hold? And did I get in as big as possible? This is actually the most important part of really any trade for me. The statistics have told me, and I've got, hundreds and hundreds and thousands of just pages of all this stuff from just everywhere. And one of the things that I've noticed is always common is where it's, did I add to my winners and hold? And so that ends up being a common theme of really like just years of journaling. So one of the things to think about when you're looking at a trade is not just, did I hit the trade and sell it for profit? What I found through tens of thousands of trades in the stock market, now I'm seeing it into thousands of trades in the cryptos, is that my best trades, the ones that I make thousands on versus hundreds on. So there's a lot of itty bitty trades I do where I make a couple $100, make a couple $100, and they're just kind of your scalping trades. But the ones that I did really, really good on, right? The ones that I did really, really good on, where I made big money, right? Well, for me, it's big money. For some people, it's not. But where I make good money is that question in my journal: did I add and hold on to my winners? Meaning that I have statistics from going through my journals. My best trades in the one particular name that day, I will add 4 to 5 different times during setups. So I may see a flag and I throw some off, and then I rebuy some and I keep adding and I keep building a bigger position. and then I keep raising my stop loss. And that's how you take a trade that could be just $1,000 trade and turn it into a $5,000 trade. It's one of the important things that you do is don't take your eye off of it. If you're in something that's moving, what a lot of new traders do is say they've got this awesome pick and then it's going up and they're like, wow, it went up a lot. And then they see another coin that's like hanging out that looks like it wants to go. What they always end up doing is they sell one to buy the other, right? You play the hot potato essentially. And what I found out from statistics is the best ones, if you're already in something that's awesome and it's paid you, you want to keep watching that one and start looking for more entries, for additional entries. See, as traders, we have a responsibility to add risk, to add size when the setup emerges. And so we want to keep adding to it, as it starts to form, because these things tend to run for 4 or 5 days at a time, right? And so you'll have numerous trade opportunities to do that. The mistake is when you have already the winner and then you sell it to buy something else and it ends up being a dud, right? And then now the one that you're in starts to shred and you could have got bigger and bigger into it. And instead you're in this other one and you're waiting around for it. And I think that ends up being just a huge misnomer, So I've tracked down like tens of thousands of trades and I found my biggest plays I've added always between 4 and 5 times. And for all of you guys that are new traders or like really building your expertise, start journaling the trades and finding out your tendencies for that particular thing. And what a lot of you guys will find is just that one small part can take your trading from, being fairly good to something really good. Don't be afraid to level in. I did notice a lot of people are having questions on Bittrex. Bittrex is not accepting new traders right now for the last couple days. It looks like the last couple weeks. I emailed their people over there. I'm like, look, fuckers, I got hundreds of traders on the line that want to shred. And they said basically they're just adding so many accounts every day that, it's way over their head. I mean, they probably thought they were going to have a bunch of nerds in their basement sitting around, right, playing fucking Dungeons and Dragons and throwing darts at coins. Next thing you know, right, the slayers come into the market and now everybody wants to trade it. And, right, you have to scale your business. My Bulls on Wall Street business was like that too. Me and my buddies, we're sitting around on the beach in Costa Rica for 3-4 months. And next thing you know, our business has doubled. And we're like, dude, we're just 4 dudes in a tank top sitting on the beach drinking Miller Lite all day. What the fuck are we supposed to do with all these customers, right? And you have to figure it out as you go sometimes. You've got to learn to scale your business. And so they're going through that. I've been doing a lot of my trades at Binance.com. We just had that killer trade in IOTA yesterday. And I did that from Binance. I like their platform. I even like their charts. And the platform is fast. And I'll tell you what, their platform works a lot cleaner and it's a lot less MS-DOS than Bittrex. Bittrex has that kind of 1990s feel to it, right? When you're like using their drop-down menus and you're trying to even navigate their site. I'm like, fuck, man, I feel like I should get my dial-up modem out right now because you can't do anything on this website. Binance has a nice, clean look to it. Let me see if I show you my the Binance platform. Hold on, let me screen share here. So they've got a really nice kind of clean, easy platform to it. And you can change around, charts and the colors and all that fun stuff too. They've got a handful of indicators. I don't use it for my full charting. I just use it to, get in and out of some of these things. But you've got some decent volume in it. And the thing I like about them is that they have some USDT pairs. So they have like a handful of USDT pairs here that, are some of the major ones. And I think that's always helpful because sometimes you can have profits and you don't want to just leave your money in a BTC or ETH pair, to be able to transfer and move around into USDT is pretty helpful. And then they've got a really solid just kind of selection of, some different ones. And every morning what I do is like, I'll go and I'll kind of, I'll filter this to see like what's moving the most. And I'll start to see like, is there anything worth shredding around here? What you'll start to see on some of these things is, as they start to build, like, you'll be able to, trade their patterns and different stuff. And so they've got some decent little things here. So I haven't had the full, brunt of it, but you can see like the charts are clean enough to use. And the other thing to remember with the Binance that I liked was their fees are like half as much as Bittrex. So if you think about like, I don't even know, fees. Let me see their fees here. Well, whatever. Their fees are half as much as what I found on Bittrex. So deposits are free, 0.10 trading fee. Bittrex is 0.25. So if you think about that, I mean, that gets expensive. So you're going from 0.25 to 0.1. That can add up, okay? That can add up. And the reason it can add up is that, say you want to do $10,000 worth of a position. At 0.1, that's a $10 trading fee. At a 0.25, that's a $25 for just a $10,000 position. I mean, before you know it, I mean, you could spend hundreds of dollars a day in commissions. And so I do like the fee structure on Binance, and the overall platform looks pretty good too. So it's something that I'd keep an eye on and see if they start adding more features. It'd be nice if you could hook up your bank accounts to it. Right now, the only thing you could do on friggin' Binance is right now is you've got to take your money or your coins from, you got to take your coins from Coinbase and send it over to Binance. Hey, Mr. Prime. Yeah, you know what? So that's a good question. Mr. Prime saying, look, you can't use Bitcoin Cash for anything. So what's the point? The point is just to make money. I don't care if I can use it. All right. My job is as a trader. So for example, when I'm trading stocks, I traded this thing NETE today. I made like 2,500 bucks on it. I don't know what it does. I saw the pattern. I thought, here, this is my car payment, right? And you shred it, and you're out in a little bit, and there you go. As traders, so there's a difference between, for me, investing and trading. As an investor, I want to know what I'm holding, right? And as a trader, because my hold times could be like half a day or a quarter of a day, it's not necessarily as important. Same thing with like fundamental analysis in stocks, right? Like, do I care what Google does? No, but if I can make money off of it in 20 minutes, I take it. But I totally agree with you on that side that, things that are obsolete and you want to hold them for years, that's probably not a good idea. Anybody else got any questions? I do got to get going in a few minutes. I got another class coming. We got cocktails and cryptos at 8 p.m. in our chat room today. And so we're going to be getting a little boozy and doing a little webinar. Anybody got any questions? If I missed anybody's questions, by the way, it's because I don't see them, right? I'm just showing you guys the chart. So feel free to ask me now. And of course, you guys can always just email me if you have any questions on everything. I did test the Apple Watch out in the ocean, and it's fine. I use this leather band, and so I use the Hermes band or whatever. So they say not to wear the band in the ocean, so I switch out the band. Litecoin, so like I was showing you, it's showing a flag over that 9 EMA. It may take a few weeks or even longer to just build out your flag, but it's not dead yet just because it's come down a little bit. The one that I'm watching for this coming week that I really like, Mr. Cordwell, is IOTA, IOTA. XRP, let's take a look at the chart for XRPs. I know a lot of you guys like this. So this is XRP. So what you got to see from XRP is this. Hold on here. So you can see like it ran from 28 to $1, right? So it had a huge push. Now it's got to, if you think about this, up for 300%. So when you're up 300%, man, you've got to do some marination, right? So over time, it'll probably build out some type of structure to its, range. it just needs to do that, right? So it could take, you know, a couple weeks, but essentially what you want to get to is some type of inflection point where, you know, it starts to build out. And so it's going to take maybe another week or two, I would guess, before that builds out. But otherwise, you know, it looks overall positive because it broke out the all-time highs. All-time highs, guys, is very powerful in stocks and cryptos. So, you know, just something to just be mindful of. Yeah, this red coin was really hot. I wouldn't add red coin up here, but I would definitely watch it and see, you know, what happens to it. Obviously, this breakout to all-time highs here at 0.003 was, you know, pretty incredible. You know, it was up about 400% at one time. So it looks pretty good, but it's got to rest at this point. Guys, anybody else got any questions? I got to get going. And if I missed you guys, actually just email me. You know, you can email me. That's my email right there. I'm always running around. I don't have class besides cocktails and cryptos tonight. So I'll be on my email at 11 or 12. You can get XRP at Bittrex or Binance, I believe, should have it. You'll have to look on the Binance website. I personally don't trade Ripple much because it doesn't really trade that well. You know, it doesn't trade that well. It trades a little bit thick. But how I do it, Peter, when I'm up a lot on a stock or a coin, I always scale out. And then I usually use like my 9 EMA on a smaller term chart, and I'll start to ride them up. So see how like they start to trend? I'll use like my 9 EMA to keep riding it up, and I'll keep selling into spikes, and then I'll keep a partial for Lotto, and I'll put a stop at my buy price, and then I'll let it kind of develop into what it's got to develop. So just, you know, just a few things. That Unicoin gold is going to be hot, man. I'm telling you, I would bet you it's going to be at least $1 in the next couple months. You never know for sure, but that's my bet. That's the way the market's rolling right now. And guys, if you have any particular types of videos or stuff or webinar topics you want me to do, like email me and let me know, and I will, you know, do the next cocktails and cryptos on whatever it is that you know, you guys want me to do. That's what we're here for, is community. So let me know. I got to get going, guys, but feel free to message me and ask me any questions, and I'll be there. All right, take care, my friends. I appreciate all the time. Peace.